All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another live stream. Sorry, I'm just looking at my camera. It looks odd. I don't know. Anyway, hope you all had a good 4th of July. Hope you all kept your fingers. I saw all mine, so we're all good here. And so yeah, so today is going to be a fun live stream. It's going to be an interesting one. It's one that I've been wanting to do. It's a slight bit tangential to what we have been focusing on. It only slightly. Like, so we are still within our Summer of RAG series, and this still does fall within that RAG umbrella. But what we're going to be covering today is AWS Bedrock Knowledge Bases. So in particular, if you were what we've already covered to date, we have covered a high-level introduction to what RAG is, and then in the previous stream we covered RAGS, which is this evaluation framework, and we still do plan on moving into those advanced optimizations for our RAG pipeline. But I wanted to take this time to deviate a little bit just for my own knowledge gaining purposes. So, and I thought you all might be interested in benefiting from this as well. So what is AWS Bedrock Knowledge Base? So just at a high level, if you're not familiar, Bedrock is AWS's service that they are looking toward for large language models or generative AI going forward. So as opposed to like Azure OpenAI, which is exclusively focused on Microsoft Azure's implementation of the OpenAI models, Bedrock is like a home for multiple kinds of models. So within Bedrock, you'll find the Mistral models, you'll find the Anthropic Claude models, you'll find AWS's own Titan models. And so yeah, it's this service that's basically the generative AI service for AWS now. So the knowledge base portion of this is like a subset of that larger Bedrock umbrella. So specifically, what it is it's a targeted like abstraction service for retrieval augmented generation. And when I mean abstracted service, I mean like we're going to jump into the console and I'm going to show you how to set up Bedrock Knowledge Base. But so from doing it from the console is not too bad. Like that's actually pretty relatively easy. The challenging part is like if you work for a major corporation or enterprise or anything, and you need to set these things up in a programmatic way that you could have failovers or whatever. So basically, what I'm saying is like if you need to do like a build these out in Terraform or OpenTofu or even just using the Python code to create it, this service quickly becomes not that abstracted. So let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and let's jump into some of the deeper content here. So, all right. So what do I want to share first? I think I want to share this diagram that I started to create. So this is a diagram that I started to create earlier this morning. It's not completed yet. Ignore the numbers for now. The numbers will be like correlated to the process flows here, but this is incomplete as of right now. I mean the diagram's complete, but the numbering portion is not. But basically, so what is this? What are we looking at here? So this green box here basically represents what is the core of like what the Bedrock knowledge base is doing, and so basically it's this idea where you set an S3 bucket that has your source documents with inside of it. So and that's going to be one of the steps that we have to do, because right now we have all of our source documents stored as this CSV file that we've just been playing around with in a pandas data frame. So we need to get it into the S3 bucket, which is totally non-abstracted, meaning that like Bedrock offers no ability to do this, which I understand, but it's also you're kind of on your own there, I guess. And then you overlay it as like this, what they call an Bedrock knowledge base data source, which then embeds the documents from the S3 bucket using one of Bedrock's embedding models. It has to be a Bedrock embedding model. There is no option to do a custom embedding model. And then it places these documents into an OpenSearch serverless collection. Now, I should say that is the default option. There are actually like 3 or 4 other options, but those 3 or 4 other options, they're mostly they're not AWS based. I mean, well, they are AWS based, but like they're third party on AWS. So what I'm specifically talking about is like Pinecone, for example. Like so you can have Pinecone as a backend, but I mean that that can come with its own bag of problems if you're like a major corporation, you want to use Pinecone. Well, now you got to go through the purchasing process to make sure that you're cleared to use Pinecone. So that's why I'm sticking with OpenSearch serverless here. So that's the ingestion flow. And then as far as the consumption flow goes, so then you have your user, they basically hit this abstract, like an API that is like abstracted away for this Bedrock knowledge base. And then basically that user's query gets embedded by the same embedding algorithm. And then we get the top K documents that are similar from the OpenSearch serverless collection. And then we have the an LLM from within Bedrock synthesize a response and then return that back to the user. Okay, so rather nothing particularly fancy here in terms of RAG in general. Like this is a pretty straightforward. And you might be wondering like what this number down here is, this number 2 is. There's another diagram under there, and we will get to that other diagram. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do, like I mentioned, is that we need to take our data that is currently in that CSV file and then put it inside of an S3 bucket. So I already created an S3 bucket. So we'll just go in here and I'll just show you it is empty right now. So I just called it. Now just keep in mind. So if you want to follow along, AWS follows for S3 buckets what they call a global namespace, meaning that if I name a bucket like this, which I named it DK Henley KI Docs for Bedrock Knowledge Base, then you cannot name it that even in your own account. That's what that whole global namespace means, which is why I gave it a very specific name. I didn't give it just some random name. But anyway, so you'll notice there is nothing inside the bucket here. So we're going to do a programmatic upload of the programmatic transformation and upload of the documents. And the reason programmatic is just it would just be way too long and time consuming to do it manually, because we got like 100 of these things that we need to do. So the first thing that we need to be mindful of is what is Bedrock Knowledge Base actually expecting in terms of formatting of the documents. So let's jump on over to their documentation over here. And so this is basically the notes around this. So it's expecting the file formats of one of these sorts of files. So TXT, CSV. Now I know we have our CSV file. Excuse me, but our CSV file has everything inside of one document, which is not preferable. So what we're going to do is we're going to transform everything into .txt files. Individual TXT files. So each fake knowledge item that we created will have its own .txt file. Oh, I guess I should reiterate that if you're just now joining for the first time. So the data set that we are working with is a simulated data set that I created representing like a corpus of knowledge items that you might find in any Fortune 50 company's IT support thing. So basically you might find a knowledge item that says how do I reset a password or how do I connect to a database, things like that. So I simulated those using a large language model, and they are up on Kaggle, and we'll get to that. But just want to level set a little bit of context if you're just now joining for the first time. So those are all stored inside. Like I said, they're all those are stored inside a single CSV file, which you will see here in a minute. And then we need to transform each of those into their own respective .txt files. And the other thing that we need to do is that we need to add some metadata to this. So the way that we do the metadata is we basically take the file name that is the same file name. So we got file name.txt here, and then we need to append this .metadata.json suffix to it. So that way the Bedrock knowledge base can do that association of, okay, yeah, this is the text file and this is the metadata associated to that text file. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so we're gonna do this. I'm just gonna do this in a Kaggle notebook. So I already started one here. Very, very simple. I haven't done anything. So if you're curious what this is doing, is basically I just did all my pip installs and I have imported a couple of things here. So we are going to be using Boto 3 specifically to do this upload. So if you're not familiar with Boto 3, Boto 3 is the Python client that AWS uses for all AWS API interaction. So if you want to create an S3 bucket, or if you want to upload things to an S3 bucket, or you want to create an YAML or anything like that, all in Python, Boto 3 is your go-to package for that. So we are going to be making use of that. And then one thing I guess I should note here is, so I've already created my AWS access key and secret key that I programmatically stored within here. If you do want to follow along, you're going to have to do that yourself. So, and we're not going to cover that in this stream, but let me just see if I can Google really quick. So, AWS create access key. Yeah, I'm sure that this sort of documentation here could probably help you out. Yeah, we're not going to cover that piece today because it's just not necessary, or well, it's just time consuming. Anyway, so I already created those. So what I need to do now is I need to load up my credentials appropriately. All right, so I'm gonna call it. So I have like these custom functions that I've been using. So you can see here that like I've got this custom loaded AWS creds here. So I'm going to call this AWS creds, and this is just a custom function that I created behind the scene that's loading this up. Don't worry too much about this. However you want to set your credentials is fine. So I am going to set these as environment variables. Environ. All right, so this is going to be AWS access key ID equals AWS creds, and I think I screwed this up a little bit. The naming access key, again, does not matter. Just set, so these need to be set in order for Bodo3 to be able to do its thing with my particular AWS account. And then so likewise, if you want to follow along, you must get this information yourself and then do basically the same thing that I'm doing. Creds, AWS secret key. Okay, and then we need to set the default region, os.environ, AWS default region. So I'm gonna, by default, work in US East 1, and then, okay, and then I'm gonna go into here, AWS region equals US East 1. Okay. Invalid syntax. What did I do here? Oh, forgot the equal sign. Duh. All right, so that's the Bodo3 setup. So let's move into like the actual data preparation. So I'm going to call this data preparation. Okay, so what we need to do. Well, let me read my notes here because I'm curious if I really need to do what I'm about to do. Oh, interesting. Sorry, I'm just reading through my notes. I just want to make sure that we're doing this the most efficient way. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're first going to create a temporary directory to hold all these items that are going to get uploaded to S3. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to call this AWS files. Well, I'm going to call this AWS files dir. AWS files dir equals AWS files. This does not matter. This is just like a temporary directory that we're going to be creating to upload, to process the things into like the document structure and then upload them actually into S3. Okay, so if not os.path.isdir. So this is just checking to see if the directory already exists, so we don't get like an error if we tried running the cell again. os.makedir, make directory, AWS files dir. Okay, so that's just created that directory. And then I'm going to set today's date to be like the suffix for each file that we upload. Now, I'm not going to go too deep on like version management on this stream, but like that is one thing that like is not explicitly handled by Bedrock Knowledge Base. Like, and we're going to run into several gotchas with Bedrock Knowledge Base. And just as like a, I guess a bit of a spoiler alert, I don't know if I recommend this service. And you'll see why. It's just kind of and it might be just that it's in an early state. It's just kind of a funky service. And like, I don't really know what level of value you're really getting from this service. But anyway, so I'm going to set today's date, and I'm going to set it like a hard coded string. So you might do this programmatically otherwise. So I'm going to call, what is today's date? Oh, 5th of July, duh. All right, so today's date. Okay, now we need to load in our data. So if you are following along with me on Kaggle, the way that you do that is you go up to the add input button up here, and then you search for my data set. So I created this synthetic IT related knowledge data set here, so we can just go ahead and add that as such. And then so Kaggle will go ahead and prepare that for us. And then we should see it show up in here, and then we can reference it. Yeah, there we go. So then we can reference this file. All right, so I'm going to load this up as a pandas data frame. All right, df KIs, not kids, KIs. Here, let me make this bigger for y'all again. Equals pd.read CSV. All right, and then I'm gonna slim this down because we only need like there's some additional columns in here, but I'm gonna slim it down just to the stuff that we need. KI topic, so that's the knowledge item topic, and then the KI text. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this really quick, just in case you've not seen this before. So this is what I was talking about. This is these are all of our knowledge items here. So you can see that we got the topic, and then we have the actual text itself. So if we were to just look at like the first row, for example, and just to show you that text, so KI text. Okay, so there you go. So these, like, even though it didn't look like there was that much, whenever we were just looking at the holistic view, you can see like there's quite a bit of text in here. So basically what we need to do is we need to extract this text out as its own text file, and then save a metadata file also associated to that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to iterate over every single row, and then we're going to start grabbing out information and then writing it to the appropriate files. All right, so for index, comma, row, in dfkis dot iter rows. So this is how we iterate over pandas data frame rows. All right, so we need to extract the text in the topic. So ki text equals row ki text, ki topic equals row ki topic, and then we're gonna format the topic to make sure it works for, because we're going to use this as like the file format name for like how we're actually saving these things. So we're going to call this formatted ki topic equals ki topic dot, so I'm going to lowercase it, so, and then I'm going to take any spaces, replace any spaces with an underscore, and so that's how we do that in Python as such. And then I'm going to call this ki file name equals that. All right, so we're gonna call the we're gonna take the formatted topic underscore, and then we're gonna put today's date. Okay, so that's gonna be our file name, and then let's extract out let's set some metadata pieces. So like again, this is fake, so it doesn't necessarily matter what we do here, but just be mindful that you may want to do something differently. Now we do need to save it in this very specific structure though, where it is a nested dictionary where it says metadata attributes. So this is what it's looking for, metadata attributes, and then we're going to do a colon, and then we're going to just set a couple of values. So I'm going to put is current, like, so I'm going to say this is like the current document, the current one, because you may have like versioning going on here. So I'm going to have a created date equals today's date. And again, this is all just fake information, just to show what we can do. Last updated is going to be today's date as well. We're going to set the KI topic here. KI topic. And let's just set a department name. Why not? And let's just say that this is going to be for the information technology department. Information technology department. All right, so that's the metadata. So now all we got to do is write these out to file. So I'm going to do a little thing that actually first checks to see that this thing has not already been created. So I'm going to put if not path. So we imported like the path thing from above. So I'm going to put AWS files dir / ki file name .txt is file. So this line of code, all it's doing is checking to see that we haven't already created this, just so we're not doing anything redundantly. with, and then we're going to write out the text here. So with basically the same thing here, the same file in a write format as txt file. So this is going to be our txt file, txt file dot write ki text. All right, so that's how we write the ki text. Now we just need to do the same thing for the metadata JSON file. Okay, so if not path, all right, so this is going to be the AWS files dir again / ki file name dot txt. And now recall, this is where we actually have to add the dot metadata dot json here as per this documentation over here. Where's the documentation? Yeah. So if we want to have the metadata, that's how we have to associate it, is by having that file suffix set appropriately. All right. Dot is file with open. By the way, this is probably going to be the most actual coding we're doing today. Like after we get the documents ingested, we're probably not going to do any more coding for today, at least. And the reason for that is, well, we'll talk more about that a little bit. But so if it seems like this first part's a bit of a slog, it is. But once we get through this first part, then the rest should be smooth sailing. At least in terms of this stream. Now, if you actually wanted to put this in like an enterprise context, maybe not as smooth sailing, and we'll talk about that in a bit. All right, so all right, AWS files dir / ki file name dot txt dot metadata dot json dot is file as JSON file. Oh, I forgot to put the right parameter, the W. We're going to do json.dump ki metadata JSON file indent equals 4. All right, so this will write everything out to our temporary directory there. Okay, so that should have done it. So let's go ahead and look at it. It should be over in here because I have it saving to this. Where do I have it saving to? I'm confusing myself a little bit now. I think it's in here. Hold on, let me look. It's kind of hard to read through these because they're not in alphabetical order. AWS file. Okay, yeah, there they are. I just called this. Oh, I called that the wrong directory name. Nah, not a big deal. Okay, so they're in there though. All right, so there you can well, there you go. You couldn't see them because my face was in the way, but like yeah, you can see that we have everything in here that we would want saved as the text file or the .json file. Yeah. Okay. All right, I was just making sure that looked all right. All right, so that was all the code to do that. So now let's do the actual code to upload to AWS. Now let's pause for a second. Are you starting to see that Bedrock Knowledge Base isn't so abstracted after all? Like that's my biggest gripe with it, is like you are getting the benefit of some level of abstraction. So if you're not familiar with the idea of abstraction, it's this idea where like imagine well, it's this idea that like basically we hide away some of the like the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. That way you don't have to worry about that. So, yeah. So like, but we are having to do. But the reason I'm calling this out is like we're having to do a lot behind the scenes. So how abstract is this thing really? Okay, so let's go ahead and upload, or our stuff to the bucket. So I'm gonna I'm just going to copy and paste this code in real quick. So this is my bucket name. I already showed you that I had created it in the console already. And so we need to set our Boto3 client to S3, and this is how we do it as such. Okay. All right, so now we just need to iterate through the file. So for file in os.list.dir, AWS files dir, and then we're going to set the file path name, setting the file path. Hold on. well, we're going to set the name of the file path for the object. All right, so setting the file for the object. All right, so we're going to call this file path. File path equals, I'm going to create, all right, the AWS files dir, and then file. All right, so there's that. All right, now we are going to first check to see yeah, we're gonna use the we're gonna do a try except block here. So the first thing that we're gonna do is to check to see if this file has already been created. So the way that we do that is with this special head object function. So head object, and then so we're gonna pass in our bucket. So that's gonna be the S3 bucket name. And then we're the key for this is going to be the file. So basically, if this thing fails out because it can't find it, then we need to create the thing. So we're going to call we need to, if it cannot find the object, we need to upload the object. Sorry, I should have said that better. All right, so we're going to accept client error as e. So if e.response. All right, so basically if we get a 404 that this is not found, and you'll see that I'm going to type 404 here in a minute. Then print uploading file to S3 bucket name bucket. All right, and then we use the S3 client again here. So S3 client.upload file. So we need to pass in a couple parameters here. All right, so file name equals file path. So this is the file path that we want the file that we want to upload. The bucket is going to be our S3 bucket name, and key equals file. All right, and then we're going to print success when this is done. Print. All right, file successfully uploaded. All right, now before we run this, I just want to show one more time here. There really is nothing in this bucket. So after I run this code here, this cell, it should upload all of our files. And this will effectively end what I want to do with the Python code, at least for today. All right, so you can see everything starting to get uploaded. It's going to take a little bit. In like 30 seconds or something. It shouldn't be too terribly long. Yeah, you can already see it starting to get populated up in here. All right, very nice. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the Bedrock service. Now, and I will call out gotchas along the way because I ran into one major gotcha as I was coming in here. So we're in the Bedrock knowledge, or I'm sorry, we're in the Bedrock service here. Toggle open this this left navigation here. So under the builder tools, you will see agents and knowledge bases. We're going to go into knowledge bases. So you'll see I have nothing in here right now. Let me move my face out of the way just so you can really see that table down there. There is nothing there. So let's go ahead and create our first knowledge base. And like I said, so in terms of abstraction, like this, like the wizard here that we're about to use is actually not too bad. All right, so we need a name. I'm going to just keep this as is. We need an IAM role. We're just going to create a new one. And then we're just going to go next. All right, so next. Now, this is what I was talking about, where we need to create, let me come back to my diagram here, where we have like this Bedrock knowledge source or data source that sits on top of like the bucket here. So that's what this is noting here, is that it like, so we create our source, and then like, so we can do the Bedrock knowledge base here. Now, before going next, we could just go next, but let's toggle open the advanced settings here just to show something. All right, so this is where you set your chunking strategy. And again, we haven't really talked about chunking yet, but I don't know actually what is the default chunking strategy. By default, at most 300 tokens. Okay, so that's the default. But there's not really that much. I mean, there is customizability, but it is not it's not full customizability. So the only customizability you can do is fixed size chunking, meaning like you can define based off of an integer, like how many tokens you want here, like how many max tokens you want, and you can set like an overlap between the chunks. But if you want to do something like a semantic chunking or some of the other chunkings that we'll explore in future streams, you cannot do that. Not possible. Yeah, so that is one of the limitations of Bedrock knowledge sources. All right, so I'm going to just untoggle that. Why did I do that? I'm going to just go back to the default chunking because I don't really care, and just go to next. Now here is where we actually have to select our embedding models. This was the big gotcha that like tripped me up big time. And like I can't actually simulate this now because I already rectified the issue. But let's say that you would like to use like this text embeddings model right here. So the gotcha is like it just would, like I tried creating this and it went all throughout this wizard, but like then my documents would never get embedded. Like they would, and we'll talk about that too. Like that's another gotcha we're gonna run into here. But like what the issue was, and it was like after 30 minutes, like this random error message finally popped up for me. It's that you actually have to come into the base models here, and you might recall this. We did a Bedrock stream a couple months ago. You have to go and enable each of these models that you want to use, and if you don't do that, then it just like it didn't tell me. Like it was a very frustrating experience, to be honest. So I don't even know, like, where is Cohere? Is Cohere in here? Yeah, so you can see here. Well, let's try this with Cohere because maybe this will fail out and you'll get to see the error here. So I'm gonna select the Cohere embeddings. So we'll come back to see if this fails out like I'm kind of expecting it will. Now, this is where we actually create the vector database here. So like I said, per this diagram here, we're going to be sticking with the default, which is OpenSearch serverless. And this is the portion that gets from the wizard's perspective, like this user interface perspective, pretty easy to get going. If you want to do this in the form of Terraform, which or OpenTofu or some other form, or like Python code, this gets messy very quickly, and to the point like I'm working on Terraform code for this, and like I'm struggling with it. So like we will come back to recommended, but I just want to show what you can or can't do. So there are these are the 5 options you can choose. So like you can't, I guess the other AWS option is like Amazon Aurora. I don't know much about Aurora, which is why I just stuck with OpenSearch serverless. And then you can see you can select Mongo or Pinecone or Redis. But again, these are like they are hosted on AWS, but like they're third party hosted on AWS. So like it just goes back to that idea. Like if you want to use these, then if you're in a corporation, you might have to be mindful of like the purchasing process or whatever that your company may have. But anyway, so, and this is also where it gets even more confusing. So like let's say I am I am a machine learning engineer, and like, but let's say I've never done anything with RAG before, like. But I understand what RAG is, and I want to get going with like something like Bedrock Knowledge Base. So using the wizard, totally fine. But now, like, let's say I've never used the OpenSearch serverless service before. If I want to use OpenSearch serverless now, I have to kind of know like that service. So like, where again, it comes back to the idea like what's the abstraction here? Like if I have to know like what's cooking under the hood here, and I have to specify all this information, that's not very abstract to me. So like, yes, in the wizard here, we can just do the recommended, but when you want to do this programmatically through something like Terraform, it gets harder. Like, to the point, harder to the point, like I still have not got I'll show my Terraform code in a little bit. It's still not working, but there's a lot to it. All right, so I just created the default one. I should have had this creating because this is going to take a few minutes. So yeah, so this is what it's doing behind the scenes here is that it is creating an OpenSearch serverless collection. And so let's go ahead and look at this. Okay, so where are the collections? Yeah, you can see it creating right here. So this is the OpenSearch serverless collection. Okay, that might be what one of my issues is right here. Okay, I'm just trying to figure out why I'm having issues. But yeah, so okay, so this is gonna take a bit. Yeah, you know what? While this is taking a bit, let me just go ahead and just jump into the Terraform code and show you like why it is complex. Now, all right. So when it comes to Terraform, what we are going to have to build is we're going to have to build the OpenSearch serverless collection. We're going to have to build an IAM role that we can associate to the Bedrock Knowledge Base. We're going to have to build the Bedrock Knowledge Base itself as Terraform. We're going to have to set the Bedrock Knowledge Base data source. We're going to have to note the S3 bucket. We're going to have to note, what else are we going to have to note? There was a couple other random gotchas. So let's just jump into the code here. Okay, so let me make this bigger for y'all. All right, so let me close down these other directories. So you can see here on this left-hand directory here are the different files that I've created here for this. So let's just look at OpenSearch serverless, for example. So, here was one of the gotchas. Behind the scenes, this wizard here is creating like this OpenSearch serverless security policy. And what the security policy is basically defining, like it's basically saying, okay, what do you want to do with your like data inside the OpenSearch serverless collection? So so if you want to be able to do that, you have to know that you had to define it like this. So I am encrypting the stuff here, and then I had to I had to ensure that this name matches here appropriately, which is why we have the depends on here. So then if we come into like the actual Bedrock knowledge base here for the actual configuration, you can see this is what I'm talking about. Like this to me is not abstraction. Like at this point, like if we are having to do this much work, why did I just not... Well, all right, I'm jumping ahead further here, but all right. So let me show my other diagram. This other diagram here represents one way in which you might do the exact same thing that we're doing above, except without Bedrock Knowledge Base here. So if we're already creating the OpenSearch serverless collection ourselves, then all we have to do is that. Now, if you know how to do everything, like. So if you already know how to do, because I would call this what we did here simple data engineering. If you know how to do that, you probably know how to create some sort of like processing job. So I've represented this as the ECS service here, Elastic Container Service. Like I actually personally would probably use like SageMaker processing jobs here. But basically, you can stand up your own SageMaker processing job with a little bit of Python in it, and then you can use your own embedding model. So again, one note here is that if we use Bedrock Knowledge Base, we have to use the stuff within Bedrock. So not great. Now we can't, and then we can use our own custom code to do our own chunking and everything. And that part is not hard. Like that is something we've already covered in previous streams with LangChain, and something we'll cover in future streams with like the optimization techniques. So yeah, you can see we have like the processing job, and then we just put the stuff inside the serverless collection. And then at the time of invocation, so like coming back to Bedrock Knowledge Base up here, the way they're doing invocation, it just hits this service, and then it goes through the embedding model, and then it goes to the OpenSearch to get the top case similar documents, and then synthesizes the response. And again, the synthesized response is exclusive to using one of the models within Bedrock. So if you want to use like OpenAI's, no can do. Whereas if you were to do this down here, so like again, I just have this orchestrating it with a Lambda function. You could use something like a SageMaker endpoint or something too. Basically, it's doing the same thing. Like where you just set up the embedding model, you embed the user's query, you get the top case similar documents from OpenSearch, and then you pass it through your large language model, which can be a large language model from within Bedrock or anything else. So like if sorry, I got distracted by a comment in the chat. So there's a comment in the chat asking what is RAG. I don't know if that's a troll or not, but if it's not a troll, I would suggest going back and reviewing one of the previous streams on how I introduced retrieval augmented generation, because this stream is probably really confusing if you don't know what RAG is. But anyway, so yeah, so basically what I'm saying is like we already have to do a ton of Terraform to get this thing going, when to do this is more or less the same amount of Terraform, plus you get a ton of customization features, plus you don't get slapped with the abstract, like, because that's the other, for better or worse, AWS, like anytime it has an abstracted service, these services cost a little bit more than doing something like this right out. But that's my point though. Like if I guess I don't know who Bedrock Knowledge Base is for because of all these woes, and so like I did part of that just to kill some time here while this was ready. Yeah, this is going to take a little bit still. Hopefully it'll be up and ready here soon. But there's even another gotcha yet, and I'll talk about it, and you'll see it in action here in a minute. And that is, if you when with the Terraform, if you were to terraform this piece, so like that is what this configuration piece here is doing, that just notes, okay, I want to tie the data source to the OpenSearch serverless collection. It does not actually do the sync though. Like in order to do the sync, you actually have to either go into the user interface or you have to go into the user interface, or you have to like initiate some other Boto 3 like code or something. It's not automatic, which is another, I guess, a bit of a frustration about this service. I don't know. I guess I'm being a little bit overly hard on the service. It is a newer service, so I'm gonna give AWS the benefit of the doubt. Like they're probably beefing this thing up to be better, but like I just don't understand like who this service is for. Because when I think about abstracted services, I think about like, okay, I'm pretty stupid about all these AWS things. AWS just handle it for me, and they're handling some pieces, sure, but they're not really handling enough for me to call it a truly abstracted service. All right, so there's another question in the chat. Can I train a model using a processing job, or I'd strictly use it for pre-processing? So a SageMaker processing job, it's interesting because it's really just honestly like a managed container service. Like it is almost like an ECS kind of thing. So basically what I'm saying is like, because you put your own Python code into that SageMaker processing job, you can do whatever the heck you want with it. So if you want to train a model, you could. Or if you wanted to do batch inference, actually, so to be completely transparent, so SageMaker does have a batch transform job, but in my mind, it's very limited. So for batch processing in inferences, I actually don't recommend the SageMaker batch transform job. Instead, I recommend the SageMaker processing job, because the SageMaker processing job offers more flexibility. But I mean, that's a fair question that you're asking, but like that question's neither here nor there for this stream. Like we're not doing any sort of model training for this stream, because we're going to be making the use of the models within here. Okay. All right. So this should be done now. All right. So it says it's ready. So here's the gotcha. So all right. Let me. Is there a way to move my face? My face is a little bit in the way here. You can kind of see it. Off on the right here is like in the user interface. You can do, it's like where you can test your knowledge base. But you can see here, I can't actually test anything because like it's grayed out. And you might be wondering, well, why is it grayed out? And it says here, let me zoom in. One or more of your data sources have not been synced. Okay, so how do we get the data source to sync? So you can see here we have the data source in the UI, and so I'll just click this button here. And so I'm simulating my gotcha here. Okay, it actually said, this time the error popped up immediately. Earlier, like when I first started doing this, this error did not pop up. But I guess in my mind, this is a broken part of the wizard. Like why would the wizard allow me to select something that I don't have access to? Like in my mind, the wizard should, like that UI wizard that we went through to create this, should only allow you to tie an embedding model that you already have access to. And then if you don't, then you need to change that. So what I'm going to do here is, I need to get myself access to this embedding model. Shoot. And I really hope that this goes fast because I just realized that this is a third-party model, and the third-party model sometimes can take some time to get access. And I don't know if you could change it. All right, let's see. All right, in progress. Let's see how fast this goes. I hope it's fast. Oh, is there a way to change it? There might be a way to change it. Or not. Yeah, let me Hold on. Still in progress. Gosh darn it. Okay, let me go back and let's see if we can change it to like the Titan embedding model. That way we can continue to proceed forward. Oh, yeah, it's stuck. Yeah, this isn't all right. I guess we have learned another new gotcha in this stream is if you create a Bedrock knowledge base and you select an embeddings model, there is no way to change it. Not ideal. Not ideal because in a standard open search collection, you can have multiple indices within the collection, and so like you could have one index that's embedded with one model and one index that's not embedded with another index that is embedded within a different model. But here it looks like once you select it, then you're kind of stuck. So let's hope this provisions quickly. I'm kind of irritated with myself now. Because I do want to test out this wizard, or I'm sorry, the not the wizard, but like the what do they call it? Like it's hard to chat. It's hard to talk and click around at the same time. All right, yeah, I want to test out this thing over here on the right, the testing of the knowledge base. Okay. All right, let me come back into. Oh, this is open search, that's why. My mind just totally blanked there on what I was doing. Oh, well. Okay, model access. Ah, yeah, it's been granted. Thank you. All right, now we can go back and sync. But this is what I was talking about. Like this sync thing, like this is another gotcha. Like, yeah, I can't do anything until it's synced. And so, like, why do I need to go in and click that sync button every time? So that this shouldn't take too long, we should. So this should go relatively quickly. So we'll wait another minute while it does the sync here, and then yeah, I kind of went a little bit out of order because I wanted to show all this and then show like the Terraform gotchas, but I forgot about how long it takes for some of this to set up. Okay, I think it's good to go now. Last sync time. Okay, so let's. I'm not gonna generate. So okay, you can't see because of my face here. Let me get this out of the way. But this test modal here, you can see here that you can either generate responses or not generate responses. So I'm not gonna generate responses. And what it means by that is so like when I ask anything here, it's just gonna return the chunks as is. And like without any sort of embellishment on them. So like I'm gonna do password. I'm gonna say password reset. Okay, so password reset. It's doing something funky here on my screen. I don't know if you can kind of see that. So it is. So it got our information from these different chunks, and then the metadata associated with the chunks. So yeah, that's kind of nice. I mean, that is nice. That it did all that for us. So that's the abstracted benefit there. So if I were to come in here and actually toggle on this generate responses, now I need to select a model. I'm just going to select the one that I have access to. What I guess I do have access to Anthropic's here. Okay, so all right, let me go ahead and ask a question. I can't see. How do I reset the password on my computer? I see the question in the chat. I'll answer that here in a second. Okay, so you can see here now that we have our AI generated response, and you can see that we've even got like the things that's referencing where it pulled our source chunks from. So cool, that all worked. So let's go ahead and like that is basically how knowledge base works. Now we just did it all in the UI. You can also invoke it, of course, through the through like APIs and whatnot. So I'm gonna make sure that we delete everything, just because I don't want to incur any bills. Now, and that's another gotcha here. So even if you delete your knowledge base from here, you still need to go into your collections, your AWS Open Search Service collection, and delete the collection itself as well. Delete, confirm, and I'm going to empty out the bucket. Okay, so well, before I empty out the bucket, I'm going to answer this question. So the question is, why would you want to embed different indices with different embedding models? Would it not provide different results? Yeah, I mean the answer is yes, but I guess the thing to think about there is over time you might add new knowledge sources to your index over like to your database over time, and you may just simply want to use a newer version of the embedding model. Let's we instantiated today's version of the embedding model with it was like the type, it was coheres, but like let's say cohere came out with a brand new version of the embedding model that has like 10 times the performance, and I have a new data source that comes in. Well, I want to make use of that one. I don't want to use the old version. And so and to be fair to Bedrock Knowledge Base, I can imagine that they'll update for that, but like right now that's just not available. So I hope that answers your question. Oh yeah, we need to empty out the S3 bucket as well. All right, so I'm gonna empty out the bucket because I don't want to incur cost for anything that's in there permanently delete. Okay. All right, and I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. So again, just coming back to what happened here is because I tried to delete this too quickly. Delete. Check your vector store and return request. What is going on here? Is it because I tried to delete the collection first? Okay, well I guess we found yet another gotcha of Bedrock knowledge base. Is if you delete the underlying OpenSearch serverless thing, then it does. Then yeah, I hope I don't incur cost for this stupid thing here. Now I got to figure out how to delete this. All right, the joys of dealing with newer services. All right. All right, we're coming toward the end of the stream. Like, anybody else have any other questions or anything? Like I said though, like because it takes so much Terraform code to build out the Bedrock knowledge base, and like to compare it to like doing your own custom thing, and you get it like, and if you go this custom route, then you get like you get like all the customization options you want. You could use the OpenAI models if you want. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see the reason why you'd want to use Bedrock Knowledge Base in particular. Okay, I don't see anything else in the chat, so we'll go ahead and call it here. And I'm honestly kind of sleepy, to be honest. I stayed up late last night, obviously, because it was the 4th of July, and I woke up at 5 a.m., so that was, I'm running on low sleep. So I hope you all have a good day. Hope you all have a good weekend, and we'll catch you in the next stream. Thank you.